Hello and welcome to another episode of Game Theory, the #1 DraftKings prep show in all of the land. I am your host, Monk, aka the Monkmatician, and in this very episode, we are going to be breaking down all 11 fights now from UFC Vegas 63, headlined by Calvin Kattar and Arnold Allen. We got Chase Hooper on the card. We've got everyone's favorite heavyweight Jared Vanderaa on the card, guys. It's going to be a banger. So, before we get into it, please hit that subscribe on this video. It would mean a ton to me. Really appreciate it. And let's get right into the first of 11 fights, since I already, spoiler alert, broke down 4 of these fights before I realized my mic was not even plugged in, guys. Can you believe it? Professional content creator here. Can't even plug my mic in. So here we go. First fight, Christian Rodriguez going against Joshua Weems. Rodriguez got a short replacement on short notice. There we go. And Joshua Weems, he fought in the DWCS, much like Rodriguez did. Both guys unimpressive so far. Rodriguez in the UFC loses to Jonathan Pierce. JSP scored less than 2 points a minute and got absolutely ragdolled for most of that fight. Joshua Weems loses to Fernie Garcia in his DWCS debut. We have no salaries for this fight yet. I am assuming Rodriguez is going to be 9,500 and Weems is going to be 6,700. That salary of 6,700 has a win rate of 6%. That's right, 6%. I don't know if you can see my cursor. There we go. 6% win rate. I like Rodriguez here. I'm not going to get into a ton of these stats. Like I said, I'm going to try to probably blaze through these first 4 since I already just literally got done talking about them to no one. So all that is out in the ether. I mean, maybe Kenny, my cat, heard me breaking it down. He probably has a bet in on Rodriguez as we speak. But yeah, the $9,500 salary has a win rate of almost 91%. I'll be on the Rodriguez side. I'm picking that one, and if he is indeed 9,500, I will be rostering him as well. Probably will not get to a ton of Weems. I'm gonna have to do my fight tape here, but I like Rodriguez over the newcomer. I just think he gets it done. The only thing is, look at this strength of schedule, guys. You want to be over 60, over 70 is really good, and we are sitting less than 50 in almost all these categories for Christian Rodriguez. Meanwhile, Joshua Weems, not much better, but better in every single category. Here are how those losses stack up. Weems got smashed first round KO TKO by Fernie Garcia. Rodriguez went all 3 with Jonathan Pierce in his UFC debut, and he was $6,900, guys. He scored almost 30 points. I mean, looked decent. I mean, for a $6,900 fighter to put up 30 against JSP in his first UFC fight, and he took down Jonathan Pierce twice. Took him down twice. So that is a pretty good debut. It's tough to draw JSP on your debut, but that is what happens. So I think Rodriguez is getting a little all right, kid, let's see what you can do now. Fight with Joshua Weems here. I'm glad he's still on the card. Here are my career finishing and my professional and UFC career finishing percentages. Pretty standard. Tons of finish wins in their careers, and every two out of every 3 losses, I should say, are finishes as well. So I think Rodriguez probably gets this done inside the distance. I'll have a bunch of him if he is indeed 9,500. Probably not a ton of Joshua Weems, but what just happened? There it is. My arrow just disappeared. What in the heck? Next fight. Another short notice replacement for Cody Durden here, going against Carlos Mota. I have no stats for Mota other than a strength of schedule we will get to. I like Cody Durden, I think, in this one, 7,700. I am not confident, though, but let's just go over a few of his stats. 2 out of his past 3 fights, guys, he has made the optimal lineup. One was against, Arichi Lang. He was 8,600, scored 93 points. And the other was JP Bays. He absolutely smashed him in the first round. Almost a quick win bonus, but not quite. At $8,000, he KO'd JP Bays. 112 is what he put up, so that is a fantastic number. Durden scoring very well, 4.54 points per minute. Scores averages 102.6 per win, and he's right at his average salary, guys, of 7,700. So we do like to see that. Even in decisions, Cody Durden has scored well, 93 points. I guess that's only one decision win, 93 in the TKO win. He scored 112. Let's see, scores over a point per minute in takedowns and control time. In fact, 1.1, which is fantastic to see. Not a ton to talk about here. Like I said, I have no stats for Mota, not even, DWCS fights. Here's the strength of schedule I was talking about. Anything, like I said, over 70 is great. And Cody Durden, well over 70 in every single category. Meanwhile, across the board, Carlos Mota in the low 60s. Not what you want to see for strength of schedule. But what do you expect? The guy has had, no UFC fights, no Dana White Contender Series fights. So he is fighting a regional competition. So generally not the highest strength of schedule to judge off in the past 5 fights. Before the Arichi Lang fight, Durden lost to Jimmy Flick, a respectable, very, very good fighter, and then went to a draw against Chris Gutierrez, and the stats say that he won that fight, Cody Durden. So I love Chris Gutierrez. He's turned into a fantastic striker in the UFC. I mean, not that he wasn't before, but he has displayed those striking skills in the UFC, knocking out several of his opponents. And yeah, Durden scored almost 50 on him and went to a draw. So Durden trending up, all his opponents also trend up, just not quite as steeply. And here are CM Monk's projections. We don't know what to expect from Carlos Mota. We're just going off of what Durden allows, which is not a lot. So 66 for Mota, 78 for Durden. Nothing much here. Professional career finishing percentages, very high in losses. 100% of their losses have been finishes in the UFC, which is, I guess, 2. And then 80% of their losses in their career have been finishes. So you love to see that. I think this one's high variance. I think it goes, does not go to decision. I'm leaning Cody Durden, but I'm not confident. I have to do my fight tape, as should you. Don't just go off statistics. I know I'm a huge stat guy. I'm bringing you the stats so then you can just watch tape and not have to do the stat work yourself. But you got to put them both together to figure out the best play to make here. Excuse me. I'm going to go with Durden, but a ton of variance on this one. Mota could come out and starch him. I really need to do my tape on Mota here, but as of Wednesday at 3:40, the 26th. By the way, it's your boy Monk's birthday. Look at me, man. 25 years old. Can you believe it, guys? Take care of yourself, or this is what you're gonna look like at 25. I'm not actually 25, but a lady never reveals her true age, so just keep that in mind. Anyways. Let's see. So I'm trying to blaze through this so I can go eat some tacos from the Mexican grocery store up the block, because oof, those onions are just, I mean, the steak tacos with the onions, man. Kenny, tell me those steak tacos. I mean, he knows. The steak tacos with the onions, double tortilla. Woo. Anyways, we got to push through this. Yeah. My mic is on, so I don't have to re-record this twice. That's it, guys. I like Durden in this one. Let's keep it moving. Roman Dolidze. Am I the only one that likes Roman Dolidze? I just like the way this guy fights. I don't know what it is. I have no idea, but I kind of like him. I kind of like Phil Hawes too. 8,400 for Hawes, 78 for Dolidze. I am leaning the underdog in this one, guys. Phil Hawes 4-1 in the UFC. KO'd 2 opponents. Who do we got here? Duran Win. Made Duran Win look like an absolute clown. Scored 135 points on Duran Win in his last fight. Got KO'd by Curtis, which, man, if we run that back, I don't know. Beat Kyle Daukaus. Good win. Beats Nasruddin Imavov. Great win. Beats Jacob Malkoun. Fantastic win. Scored 127 against Malkoun in that quick win bonus. Meanwhile, Dolidze also beating Daukaus in the first less than minute and a half. Beating Staropoli, losing to Giles in a fight in which the stats say that he won, but that's neither here nor there. John Alan, Kadis Ibrahimov. I like Dolidze, man. Scores almost 4 points a minute. Yes, that is a train. No, I'm not going to mute myself or stop. 100 points per win. Guys, we wouldn't even have the groceries that, no, I'm just kidding. We need trains. They're super important. What am I doing now? I'm just exhausted, and I'm really looking forward to those tacos now. 5 points a minute from Phil Hawes, one of the best scores on the card. 113 and a half per win. These guys are great scorers. Dolidze gives up hardly anything as far as points go. 1.4 points a minute, and only 51 is what he gave up to Trevin Giles. He's also 540 under his average. Phil Hawes is 320 under his average. Guys, you have to play this fight. I don't care who you think's going to win. There's a fly in here. I don't care who you think's going to win. You got to play this fight. Check out my video linked below. Salary Voodoo on the MMA Engine. Spoiler alert, we do talk about this fight. And you should really, really play this fight, guys. I mean, Dolidze scores well over 1.6 points per minute in takedowns control time. Surprisingly, Phil Hawes scores 1.5 points a minute in takedowns and control time. So I absolutely love this fight. I think, even if it goes to decision, I think Dolidze can score very well in a decision win. You just hold people up against the cage, get that clinch work in. Phil Hawes, very heavy-handed, going to be the taller. Actually, no, he's not going to be the taller fighter. Wow. I didn't know Dolidze was 6'2", guys, according to UFC stats. 6'2" with a 1 inch shorter reach than Phil Hawes and his 6 foot frame. So I love this fight. I think there's no way, I'm not going to say that. I don't think this one goes to decision. But if it does, I think both guys score well. I mean, Dolidze in his one loss still put up almost 40 points. So give me Dolidze at the dog salary of 7,800. Hell yeah. Next fight, Ugly Man Holmes going against Junyoung Park. And guys, he wants to be called Ugly Man. He said it after his last win. I'm not dogging the guy. This is what he wants to be called. So you got to call him Ugly Man. He's 1-1 in the UFC. Meanwhile, Junyoung Park, the Iron Turtle, one of the great nicknames in the UFC right now, 4-2 record. He's 9,300, guys. I love the Iron Turtle. I don't know how I'm going to get to him this week at 9,300. He's almost 1,200 over his average salary. Meanwhile, Ugly Man is 1,800 under his average. Yeah, under his average salary. Holmes, 3 points a minute, 112 in his one UFC win. Park, surprisingly, 4 points a minute, but only 94 per win. He has no finishes in the UFC, and any of his UFC wins, all of his UFC wins, I should say, have gone to decision. Scores 1.2 points a minute in takedowns and control time. Joseph Holmes scores half a point per minute less than that, gives up almost 1 minute or 1 point per minute in those categories. But so does Junyoung Park, actually gives up more than that, 1.18 minutes. Or 1.08 points per minute. There we go. In takedowns and control time. So both guys landing some ground game and giving up some ground game as well. Holmes' one win. He did get that knockout over Alan Amedovski in the first round. Almost a quick win bonus there. Scoring 112 points at $8,800. But man, big red flag. Losing to Jamie Pickett. Even if it is your UFC debut, I'm willing to give a pass because that can be a bit nerve-wracking, I would imagine. Your UFC debut. Meanwhile, the Iron Turtle winning against Eric Anders, very close fight. The stats say he probably lost that, but very, very close. Loses to Gregory Rodriguez after he had Rodriguez stumbled. Beats Stefan Nchukwi, John Phillips, and MAB. I'm leaning Ugly Man here. Honestly, I think here's how it breaks down. I said this in the recording I did into to the ether, and I'm going to say it again here. I think this one goes to decision, and if that's the case, guys, Holmes is the play, right? Holmes has got to be the play. I'll let you look at these while I talk about it. Holmes at 6,900 points in a decision loss could still score you 30, 35 points against Junyoung Park. This is probably going to be a stand-up fight for a lot of it, so Holmes can definitely get some points scored. And if he lands a takedown or two, I mean, that's even better. But if this goes to decision, 6,900 is a fantastic play. Holmes scoring just under 28 points in his loss to Jamie Pickett. So I think, even 30, 35 points in a loss is okay for cash at 6,900. Not ideal, but, it's okay. If you get a win, though, I mean, that's 80, 90% optimal probability right there. So give me Joseph Holmes because I think this one goes to decision. If Park wins, though, of course, I'm not going to be upset, but because I do like the guy as a fighter, but I am going to have a hard time getting to that $9,300 salary this week, guys. That one is a tough one. Next fight. Excuse me, did I skip one? No, we're just going quick. All right. Whoops, I just skipped too many. There we go. I haven't talked about this one yet, so here we go. Chase Hooper going against Steve Garcia, man. Chase Hooper at 9,200. He's $900 over his average. Let's see some of his numbers. Almost 4 points a minute, 109, almost 110 per win. Gives up 3 points a minute, 85 per loss. Meanwhile, Steve Garcia has one UFC win. He scored 116.5. Who the hell was that against? Charlie Ontiveros. Jesus Christ. The American Badass or Bad Boy or something. Garcia got smashed by Mahashate in his last fight, smashed by Luis Pena, as many of his partners, do. They get smashed by Luis Pena because he's a terrible person. Chase Hooper, Felipe Colares. That was not a joke. That was more of just giving it to Luis Pena there because he sounds like an awful person. Chase Hooper, Felipe Colares with a win, or a win over Colares, I should say. Lost to Steven Peterson. Lost to Alex Caceres. Wins over Barrett and Daniel Tamer. I love Chase Hooper here. He scored very well against, very, very well against Colares. 142 in a KO win in which he scored, let's see, no knockdowns, 4 takedowns, and 54% control time. He also got controlled 32% of that fight. Still came away with 142 points, guys. Obviously, we're not going to see a repeat of that. Chase Hooper is likely not going to score 141 points again, but Steve Garcia has been KO'd in the UFC, has been finished twice in his professional career. I could see it happening. All three of Chase Hooper's wins have come inside the distance. I could see it happening here. Hooper seems to improve with each and every fight. I will be rooting for Hooper, but rostering him at 9,200, I guess I like it. I don't mind it. I think it's a bit expensive, but I will have my fair share. I mean, if he gets a finish here, I mean, he could score triple digits. That's going to be pretty decent. Steve Garcia, I don't know how much I'm going to have of him. Chase Hooper has never been finished in his professional career. Garcia with only one KO TKO win in the UFC, 9 KO TKO wins professionally. So is he going to knock Chase Hooper out? I'd be pretty surprised. If that's the case, I guess I like Steve Garcia a bit, but still, in his points per loss is less than 17. So I'm kind of out on that. I like Chase Hooper here. I'm probably not going to have a ton. I'll probably have more of him than Jun Park though. So I guess that tells you all you need to know about that. Next fight. Andre Arlovski going against Marcos Rogerio de Lima. Wow, I mean, what are we doing here? Arlovski's 7,300. This guy is a decision machine, right? Everyone knows he wins by decision in every single fight. Split decision, unanimous. Lost to Tom Aspinall by sub. I honestly don't know how this one's going to go, guys. I honestly don't know. De Lima scored 38 in a loss against Blagoy, who's terrible. Smashed Ben Rothwell in the first minute. Smashed Maurice Green by decision. I guess that wasn't a smashing. Lost to Romanov and smashes Ben Sassoli. So what happens here, guys? This Andre Arlovski, like serum or juice, or maybe he's got some Apollo Costa's secret juice. I don't know. It has to be wearing off eventually, right? He can't just do this forever. The guy is almost 44 years old. In fact, his birthday, he'll be 44 in February. So, I mean, this can't keep happening. But is Marcos Rogerio de Lima the guy that's going to just finish it for Arlovski? I don't know. He scores 3.43 points a minute, 103.65 when he wins. Only allows 1.81 points a minute. Arlovski doesn't score well at all. He has not made the optimal lineup in any of his past 5 fights since 2021. Meanwhile, De Lima has made the optimal in 2 out of his past 3 fights. I like De Lima here. I'll be playing him even at 8,900. Yes, I will be playing him as a sloppy heavyweight. And the fact that Arlovski cannot do this forever, guys. I mean, if he wins by split decision, will I be surprised? No. If he wins by unanimous, will I be surprised? No. But I'm going with Marcos Rogerio de Lima here. We can look at a few of these other stats. The strength of schedule for Arlovski is trash in his past 5, under 70 across the board. Meanwhile, Rogerio de Lima actually has a very tough strength of schedule according to the numbers. I mean, he did fight Alexander Romanov. That one bumps it up a bit. Ben Rothwell has a good record. Meanwhile, Arlovski's beating guys like Jake Collier, Jared Vanderaa, Carlos Felipe, Chase Sherman. These guys are all meme fighters. These guys aren't real, like, contenders at heavyweight. We all like to say that they are, oh, Jake Collier should be the main event. That's all fun and games, but all that aside, they're bad heavyweights. They're bad. The only guy that Arlovski has had a decent fight with is Tom Aspinall, and he smashed him. Aspinall absolutely smashed Arlovski back in February of 20. This is when Arlovski was 41 years old, right after he turned 41, and now he's almost 44. So I'm going with Marcos Rogerio de Lima, even though that guy's close to 40 as well. But you can't bank on that because Arlovski decision is always live 100% of the time. But I do like de Lima here. Are we really flying through this? It's only been 18 minutes. I mean, I guess these fights aren't much to talk about. So, and this is another one. I mean, Tresean Gore, what are we doing with this guy? I mean, is this his last UFC fight? I mean, they're putting him up against Josh Fremd, who has no UFC wins. I mean, both these guys are 0-3 put together in the UFC. Gore has 5 professional fights. 5 professional fights. Scores 2.34 points a minute. 4.36 points is what he gives up. 101 when he loses is what his opponents score. Got smashed by Cody Brundage. I was all over that, and us here at the MMA Engine were all over that one. Shout out to Cody Brundage. And he got smashed up by Brian Battle as well. So I'm not impressed. Josh Fremd, however, has a decent ground game. Had a real tough go in his first UFC fight against Fluffy Hernandez. But he went all 3 and did manage a takedown here. So excuse me, Gore gives up almost a point per minute in takedowns and control time. I think that is Josh Fremd's path to victory here. You got to ignore some of these stats. I mean, against Fluffy, he got almost 6 points a minute scored on him, only scored 2 points a minute against Fluffy, and he is 1,200 over his average salary. So Vegas knows, DraftKings knows that Tresean Gore is terrible. So that's why we are getting this extremely high price on Josh Fremd. And Tresean Gore is so bad, or he's shown himself to be so bad, that I don't even mind paying $8,900 for Josh Fremd. That's how bad it has been. So, I mean, Gore, yeah. I don't know what else to say about this. Fluffy smashed Fremd. That's why his takedown and control time numbers are way out of whack, because that's his only opponent so far in the UFC. But his strength of schedule in his last 5 is fantastic. Meanwhile, Tresean Gore, very, very bad strength of schedule in his last 5. Like, very, very bad. Yeah, here are my projections. I got no visual statistical recap, and here are the finishing percentages. Pretty high in wins, pretty low in losses, 40%. So I'm going Josh Fremd here. If Tresean Gore gets a win, it's going to save his job in the UFC probably. If he loses, I don't know what we're even doing here. 5 UFC fights, or 5 professional fights, and this guy's out here getting smashed. So give me Josh Fremd in a ton of lineups, and I don't know how you could put Gore in a lineup. I really don't understand how you could put Tresean Gore in a lineup if you've watched his last 2 fights. It doesn't make any sense. Therefore, you might want to put him in a lineup for a little bit of variation. A little bit to be contrarian, as everybody likes to be in DFS. But when the chalk hits, being a contrarian is just another word for loser. So what are you gonna do? Next fight, man, these fights are bad. Jared Vanderaa. This guy's 1-5 in his in the UFC. 1-5. Going against newcomer Waldo Cortes-Acosta, who from my guy Lou Betya has told me sucks. His nickname sucks. Salsa Boy, that's a terrible nickname. At least Vanderaa has the mountain. That's the best thing going for him. Cortes-Acosta, you guys got to do your fight tape on this. I was just going to pick Cortes-Acosta blindly at $9,000 because Jared Vanderaa is so freaking bad. But I guess you can't do that. Vanderaa might have a chance in this fight. 2.48 points a minute, 83 per win. We're not even going to go over Acosta's stats. You can look at them, but they're so ridiculous and out of whack from his one Dana White Contender Series fight. He scored 8.5 points a minute. Are you kidding me? 121. He's not doing that in a real UFC fight, so that's just not going to happen. It could happen. Jared Vanderaa is terrible, but likely it's not going to happen. This fly really likes me. I must smell like shit, apparently. Let's see here. Jared Vanderaa, 0% of his one win, so he's not put up over 90. Meanwhile, his 5 UFC losses, 3 of them have been over 90 is what his opponents scored. Opponents have scored over 100 in 2 of them and over 110 in 1 of them. His numbers are bad. There's not one good number anywhere on his entire side of this chart. Maybe his strength of schedule, it's over 70 a bit. But lost to Chase Sherman as a -2, lost to Oleinik as a minus, as a favorite fighter, lost to Arlovski, lost to Romanov, beats Justin Tafa. Like, who cares about that? Meanwhile, Cortes-Acosta beat some guy named Danilo Suzart. I don't watch Dana White Contender Series fights, really. It's just it's too low level for me. I'm a UFC purist, I think. I just like to see, I don't know what it is, but I can't watch those DWCS fights, man. I can't do it. But either way, WCA finished him. Are we calling him that? Waldo finished him in the first round, less than 4 minutes. Not impressed. Look at Vanderaa's projections. It's crap. Crippity crap. Tons of finishes and losses. Yeah. I wish I didn't have to play this fight. I wish I didn't, but I think you have to. It's just going to be a shit show. God, I wish I didn't have to play this at all. I don't even know what I'm going to be. 50% max on this fight, hopefully. Good God, this is a terrible fight. What if it goes to decision and the winner scores like 45 points? Like, couldn't you see that happening very easily here? I just don't like it. Who am I picking? Not Jared Vanderaa. Anyone except Jared Vanderaa. Dustin Jacoby going against Khalil Rountree. He's got the opposite. He also has 6 fights in the UFC since 1/1/21, and I believe he has won 4 or 5 of them. So the opposite of Jared Vanderaa, has made the optimal in 2 out of those 6 fights. 8,300 for the kickboxer Jacoby. His numbers are not impressive though. 2.77 points a minute, 92.73 per win. Not too impressive. Only allows 69 per loss though. Not very many points scored. Excuse me, in takedown and control time. Obviously, he's more of the kickboxing fighter. Does allow a ton of points per minute as far as grappling goes. Has a dog shit strength of schedule. Beat Da Un Jung in a fantastic win. Beat Michael Oleksiejczuk in a great win. John Alon, Darren Stewart, and a draw against the Hulk, Ian Cutelaba. Meanwhile, Khalil Rountree is out here finishing people. 5 of his 6 UFC wins have come by KO TKO, which is why he has such a high score here per win, 106.17, while averaging well under 3 points a minute, because he relies on those big knockouts to get those bonus points, guys. He's 491 under his average salary, and Justin Jacoby, if you will, minus 200 under his average salary. So pretty good there. Rountree, all 6 of his wins, he scored over 90 points, 5 of them over 100, and 1 of them over 110. So, I mean, this guy's giving up points and scoring a ton of points, 80%. So 4 of 5 of his UFC losses, his opponents have scored over 100, 2 of them over 110. So Jacoby, not as many points in his fights. Rountree, the winner and loser. The winner, if he wins, he's scoring a ton. If he loses, his opponents are scoring a ton. So you want to be in on this fight, I think. I think you really want to be in on this fight, no matter what side you're on. Strength of schedule is not good for either guy. All categories under 70 across the board. Not good. Rountree with wins over Roberson and Modestas Bukauskas. 2 wins in a row. Before that, he lost to the Hulk, Marcin Prachnio, and beating Eric Anders. Let's see, Jacoby's trending up in raw DraftKings points per minute while his opponents trend down. You do love to see that. Same thing with Rountree, just not as steep as for trending up, I should say. Excuse me, here are the projections. There are the projections and the visual statistical recap. Aggregate professional and UFC career finishing percentages, well over 50, well over 60 in 3 of 4 categories here. So, who are we picking for this one? This is where it gets interesting. My head says Jacoby, but in Rountree fights, I really don't know. Jacoby actually has never been KO TKO'd in the UFC. He has 1 KO loss professionally. So is Rountree going to come out here and KO him? Probably not. So I guess I'm leaning Jacoby. I don't mind him in a decision, but even then he scores very low in decisions, 75 on average when he wins by decision. He needs that finish to score any points. So I might be a bit under the field on this one, actually, as I do kind of think it goes to decision. I think these guys are going to have a lot of respect for each other, but who knows? And, kind of keep it, one of them will land a big shot here or there, but I'm just not sure if one can get the other one down and out. Co-main event of the evening, Tim Means going against Max Griffin. I want to root for Means here, but man, it's getting harder and harder to do with every single UFC fight. 7,400 is a decent dog price for him. 3.32 points a minute, 91 per win. Only gives up 2.6 and 92 when he loses. He's also $1,400 under his average salary. How's that even possible? Scores very well when he finishes, and he's finished only 7 of 14 fights in the UFC he has finished. So 50% finish rate. Let's see. 64% of his 14 UFC wins, he scored over 90. Let's see. 6 of them, he scored over 100. And it looks like 2 or 3 of them, he scored over 110. Not giving up a ton of points. Max Griffin on the other side, 3.1 points a minute, 89 per win. I think this one goes to decision, guys. If Tim Means does not get finished, I think this one goes to decision, and neither guy scores very well, in my opinion. I think I'm going to go for a fade on this one. If anything, I'll have more Max Griffin, I guess. He does have 50. Both these guys have a 50% win rate, finish win rate, I should say, in the UFC. 3 wins by KO TKO for Max Griffin out of his 6 total wins. I might fade this one a bit. I'll try to be under the field. Tim Means has the much better strength of schedule, winning 3 of his last 5. Losses to Kevin Holland and Daniel Rodriguez, both fantastic fighters. Wins over Staropoli, Mike Perry, and Nicholas Dalby, who is kind of, an enigma when it comes to fighting Dalby. Griffin, on the other hand, lost to Magny and Cowboy Oliveira with wins over Brahimaj, Song Kinong, and Carlos Condit. So a decent little resume there. Means barely trending up while his opponents trend down, and Griffin trending down while his opponents trend up. Neither of these guys have very high projection outside of a finish, which should not really be surprising at all. And here are the career finishing rates, pretty low for the most part. I think this one goes to decision. And let's see, when Means wins by decision, 78. When Griffin wins by decision, 69. Griffin also has a less than 50% win rate in the UFC. He is 6 of 7 in his UFC fights. That should be noted, as that is a big red flag for me. So I'm going to pick the dog here. Why not? Give me Tim Means. I don't think this one makes the optimal lineup, and I will be fading it overall for DraftKings. Guys, we are on to the main event of the evening. Love to see it. Hope you're having a great day. We'll get you out of here on this one. Calvin Kattar going against Arnold Allen. This is the one that we've all sat through this card waiting for, because it's not a good card. This is a great fight. We get Kattar as a dog at $8,000. We get Allen under his average salary at $8,200. He's 9-0 in the UFC, 18-1 professionally. We'll start with Arnold Allen, who, outside of his last fight, guys, recency bias aside, he smashed Dan Hooker in the first round, scoring 109, almost 110, which is way outside of what Arnold Allen usually does. And I mean way outside. Let's see, he beat Sadiq Youssef 68 points, beat Nick Lentz 58 points, beat Melendez 77, beat Jordan Rinaldi 42. Then he scores 110 against Dan Hooker. I mean, the guy averages only 71 points per win, 2.38 points a minute. There's no way I can put Arnold. I mean, he's going to have to do this like 3 times in a row before he's going to have to Dan Hooker somebody 3 times in a row before I start to put him in my lineups. He's just been such a consistently bad DraftKings fighter that how could you ever do that? Calvin Kattar on the other side, not too impressive either. 2.69 points a minute, less than 100 per win. He is $118 under his average. Let's check out his last 5. Lost to Josh Emmett, scored 52 points in the process. Beat Giga with 121 points, fantastic win. Other than that, I mean, it has not been great. Scored 53 against Holloway after he had his career statistics changed forever in that fight. Holloway again landed 445 significant strikes on Kattar's face. Dan Ige, we beat Dan Ige, scored less than 80. Beat Jeremy Stevens, scored 101. So, as far as main events go, this one's extremely exciting. Not great for DraftKings. I do think this one goes to decision. I think, I don't know who I think wins, honestly. I like both of these guys. I really want to see what Arnold Allen can do. I'm just not impressed with him as a DraftKings fighter. And before that Hooker fight, I mean, he was pretty much flatline across the board, kind of like this Calvin Kattar graph we're looking at, where both him and his opponents are trending down. I'm just not impressed with the DraftKings numbers here. I like Kattar, but man, I really like Allen, and I think this dude, I mean, he's only 28. He's not even 29 years old. This dude has, you know, he's 9-0 in the UFC, man. If he beats Calvin Kattar, we got to start talking about Arnold Allen here. So, fuck it. I'll pick Arnold Allen. I'm picking Allen. I'm going to be fading this fight as a whole. I'll probably be well under the field. I'm not fading it to 0, obviously. I think 5-round main events have like a 61% chance of being optimal. One of those fighters makes the optimal at a 60% clip, 60, 61, something like that. Both fellas have made, yes, I said fellas. Both you fellas have made the optimal lineup once out of their past 3, in 2 fights, respectively. I like Allen here. I think it goes to decision. I don't like either guy for DraftKings. So give me like 30% of this fight, and I think I'll be comfortable with that. Maybe a bit more. That's a bit of a lowball number. Maybe a bit more than that. And guys, that is going to do it. We did it, all 11 fights this week for UFC Vegas 63. One more time, please hit that subscribe button if this helped you at all. And please pair this with your fight tape and pair it with Salary Voodoo. In the description below, there is a link. I'll even probably, if you just don't touch your remote, just let this go into the next video. I'll do it so it's Salary Voodoo. You don't even have to push anything. Just keep your hand in that Cheetos bag and we are good to go, guys. So pair all those things together and you will know exactly how to play UFC Vegas 63 from a DraftKings perspective, guys. So thank you a ton. And as usual, I want all of you to enjoy the fight. So enjoy, and we will see you next time.